Hello, everyone. This is a presentation on the technical details and hardening recommendations for PostgreSQL database. This is for Information Security and Assurance 4220 System Security 2 at Kennesaw State University. And this is by me, Jared Simmons. So first, I just want to lay out some terms I think you should know before I dive into this presentation. First is SQL. So SQL stands for Structured Query Language. It's used to communicate with a database, and it's also considered the standard language for relational database management systems. Statements in structured query language are used to update data and retrieve data from a database. Open source. In this case, open source means that the database system's source code is open and available to study, modify, and redistribute. So when PostgreSQL database was created, it was made to be open to the public and easy to use. And then lastly, SSL. In my previous presentations, SSL is incredibly important. I just want to go over it one more time. It stands for Secure Sockets Layer. So this is the standard technology used to establish a secure connection between a web browser and a web server. So what it does is it encrypts the data being transmitted on the SSL connection. As far as technical details goes, I'm going to dive into what PostgreSQL database actually is. So it's an open source object-related relational database system that utilizes and expands the SQL language to store data workloads. It is based on extensibility and technical standards compliance. So the RDBMS management system, or relational database management system, is designed to take on workloads from single machines all the way up to data warehouses. It's actually the default database for Mac OS server, but it's also available for Linux and Windows. And in this case, we're speaking in terms of Linux because we are installing and configuring this database on Ubuntu. Also, PostgreSQL is packed with many features as well that makes it popular to use. So some of the features available on PostgreSQL, they're there to assist developers in building applications, help administrators protect data and data integrity, and build fault-tolerant environments. They also help the user manage data regardless of the size of the data set. Moving on to hardening recommendations. So as far as hardening recommendations go, one of the first ones I want to go over is the server configuration. So the first thing you want to do is control which IP addresses have access to the server. So using the parameter listen underscore address will allow the user or administrator to specify known IP addresses to them that will be granted access. You don't want all IP addresses on the World Wide Web to have access to the server. That's a huge vulnerability, and you're vulnerable to attack, rather. So you want to specify which IP addresses will have access to the server. Secondly, I want to go over user and role management. So user management and security means giving the least amount of privileges necessary to the users. So by default in PostgreSQL, everything is considered a role. So roles and privileges are not configured in a secure manner. You can granulate privileges by creating three types of roles. First is a role. It uses the prefix R. Second is a group role, uses the prefix G. And third is the user role. This uses a personal or application name. And so basically the role roles have privileges over objects. The group roles have privileges over a group of roles. And then the user roles are the ones with login privileges. So it kind of creates this hierarchy of privileges. And in doing this, this method, it allows the administrator to grant and revoke users' privileges. So it makes it extremely easy and a lot more secure in terms of privileges for anyone interacting with this database. And lastly is data encryption. So PostgreSQL it's easily compatible with using secure sockets layer connection to secure communications between the client and the web server. So PostgreSQL clients, they send queries in plain text, and the data is also unencrypted. To enable SSL connections, you can set the SSL parameters to be turned on in the PostgreSQL.config file. And lastly is my works cited page. So these are the sources that I've used for the research on this presentation. Thank you everyone for listening, and have a nice day.